Thanks for joining me. For those of you who don't know, my name is Peter Lamont. I'm a business contract litigation and real estate attorney in New Jersey. And this is a video that follows a video I did a little bit earlier today, and it talked about preparing for a mediation. So if you haven't watched that video yet, you should probably go back and do it, because this is kind of a series. Basically what happened prior to and during the mediation that I just participated in. And I think it gives you some insight as to what really happens, because if you don't know what mediation is, or you're confused about the topic, go back, watch some of my other videos, or leave a comment below, and obviously I'll respond. But I just want to fill you in on what happened at today's mediation. So for those of you who tuned into the last video, you know that I was attending a mediation for a client. It was a business client, and basically they were filing a lawsuit for, it's called tortious interference. It's a tort where one company has interfered with the business of another company, and so that's the name of the cause of action, tortious interference. And they were looking for, obviously, monetary damages for money. And we went into the mediation. We were, sorry about that, they're doing some kind of road work here. And I hope you don't mind the driving videos either. I'm trying to squeeze in as much content as possible, and sometimes I just don't have the time in the week to do a full, nice, edited video. So please, excuse the quality of these, but at least I'm able to convey some of the important information. So anyway, when we went into the mediation, we were so far apart. We were at a number that was high, and they refused to even counter our number. That's how far apart we were. And normally, going into a mediation like that, the chances that you're going to be able to come out with a settled case are very, very low. But occasionally, when you've got clients that are understanding of what the value of their case may be, and all of the uncertainty and expense that comes along with litigation, and you've got a good mediator and you've got a good set of facts, it's much easier to sort of bridge that tremendous gap and bring it to a point of settlement. Sometimes an adversary or opponent, even if you make a settlement demand to them, they just won't settle the case until there is somebody else other than you or their lawyer telling them what the value of the case is. And oftentimes that's a mediator. So in this case that I just concluded, we went in with no response to our settlement demand, miles and miles apart. And after explaining the case to the mediator, explaining our position, what we were going to do, how we were going to handle litigating the rest of the case, and what the potential risk was for the other side, the mediator went back and forth, and ultimately the case settled. And it was a very favorable settlement for my client, which is great, because that's obviously my goal, to give my clients the most favorable outcome possible. But just to give you some idea of how long this process took, we went in at 9:30 and it's now 1:30. So a significant amount of time transpired, and a lot of it is waiting for the mediator to come back from the other side. But I'm going to talk in another video about the actual mediation procedure, because a lot of mediators do it differently, and I'll tell you what happened in this one. So we all together went into one conference room. So it was my client, myself, my adversary, and his clients, and the mediator. And the mediator went over ground rules. Now, this is the typical way that it occurs. There's a sort of ground rule meeting. The mediator makes sure that everyone understands why we're in this mediation, what the purpose of the mediation is, what he's going to attempt to do, what his limitations are. And then he asks if you have any questions, and then we'll split you into two rooms. And that's what happened here. So we went into two separate rooms. He came into us first, since we were the plaintiff in the case, and we conveyed where we were in the case, what our initial settlement demand was, what we expected out of this case, and what our legal position was going to be if the case continued forward. So we took that and he went back to the other side and was there with them for a while and came back and said, you know what, there is no offer. They see no value in your case and they're not going to make an offer. And so, at that point, you have to decide, are they bluffing? Is there money? What do you do to push them? Or do you just walk out? I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can handle it. And, it crossed my mind, well, at this point, do we just walk out, call their bluff with a no offer? Or, what do we do? So what we did is I explained to the mediator, who was a retired judge, I explained to him, Judge, we are going to amend our complaint. We are going to bring additional people in. We're going to file additional causes of action. And based upon these additional factors that I listed, I think that the defendants are going to have a much more difficult time with this case, and I think that we have a really good chance of winning. And I didn't tell him that information up front on purpose because, if I had told him that right off the bat, he would have gone in, he would have said, this is the information I have, and we wouldn't have had that bargaining power so that when he came back with a no offer, I was able to say, okay, that's fine, but just let them know that. And that did it, because that, I think resonated with the defendants. It made sense, and they said to themselves, all right, we're going to be in this case for a while if we don't settle. So they made a very, very nominal settlement offer. We were probably, 98% apart. I mean, the number that they came out with was ridiculously low. It was laughable. But we worked through it, and we came up with some solutions. So a lot of times when you're in a business dispute, money isn't the only possible outcome. Money's not the only reward, let's say, or award that you could obtain. Sometimes there's business issues that you can add into your claims for monetary damages that provides you with an ability to settle a case. And we came up with a very creative idea that gave our client significant peace of mind moving forward. In addition, we stood our ground with our monetary demand and obtained a favorable outcome. But what you should learn from this is a few things. Number one, in order to succeed at mediation, you must be prepared. You must know your case, you must know your client, and you must know your adversary. Number two, be organized. Know what you're going to do, know how you're going to present your case, know what you're going to say if things don't go your way. Understand the impact of getting upset or any of that stuff, because it typically backfires. Number three, understand that if you're going to mediate, then it could take some time. You can't rush it. It has to sort of evolve. And in some instances, it can take a long time. This was a long time, but it worked out favorably. I think I'm on number four. So number four, don't necessarily give up when somebody says no to your demand. Now, let me kind of define what I'm talking about. I'm not saying, be stupid and say I want this dollar amount, and they say there's no way, and you're like, all right, but this is what I want, this is what I want. You have to read between the lines. You have to read and analyze the situation. That's why if you are considering maybe mediating a case by representing yourself, or you're going to mediate a case that you're representing yourself in, be very, very careful, because many times when I'm mediating or representing a client in a mediation, the emotional component comes out, and we always have to shut that down, because while some emotion visible so that the mediator can see it might be helpful, too much and you really lose a lot of traction and ground, because then the mediator starts to think, well, this guy or girl is so emotional, it's just never going to settle, and they essentially stop trying. But in this case, my client was very good, listened to what I had told him to do, and we were able to not give up on the number that we were looking for. And even when it got to a point where we were so close, but it wasn't exactly what he needed, and even when we pushed and we kept getting resistance, we tweaked it, we stayed the course, and my client ended up getting a good deal. So I hope that you kind of got a glimpse of what happens within the mediation itself, not just what is mediation and what do you wear to a mediation. All of those are obviously important topics, but knowing that we went in and it took over 4 hours, and how we were so far apart and ultimately we're able to bridge that gap, the idea of using some creative elements in order to bring your settlement to life, observing and watching. When you are in a mediation or any sort of settlement discussion or negotiation, it is so important that you watch and observe the responses, the actions, the mannerisms of the people that you are trying to settle a case with, because a lot of times they'll give you signs and signals that maybe something you said struck a nerve, or maybe there's more money than what they're letting on. So being observant is very important as well. All right, so hopefully this wasn't too much of a ramble. I hope that it was helpful in kind of giving you, like I said, that overview. I'm going to do more videos on mediation itself, and we'll keep them shorter and do more of a kind of question and answer thing like some of the other videos. So what do you wear to mediation, what should you expect, how long will you be there? We'll answer some of these questions, but this is just raw, coming right from the mediation. Very long time, and I figured on my way back, let me just kind of update you and give you some insight. Hopefully you like it. So do me a favor, leave me a comment. Let me know if you like the videos, if you don't mind the driving videos, and don't forget to subscribe and to tell your friends and your family and neighbors about the program. If you're interested in the podcast, we also have a podcast which you can subscribe to on iTunes. You can also go to our website. The website for the podcast is utlradio.com, and you can subscribe to that. And if you want more legal information, you can go to my website. The links are going to be in the description below, and join our mailing list. All right, I hope you guys have a great day. If you have any questions or comments, please do leave them below, and I will get back to each and every one of you. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.